Okay, hi there boys and girls, and welcome back to the channel. We're continuing with our series on premium tanks, and our first game is from Frost 136. He's platooned up with Cupcake, also from GTC 1, and Frost is rolling out on Alpenstadt in the T-28 HTC, the American Tier 7 premium tank destroyer. And this tank, well, certainly for the last 2 years, it's certainly always come available on offer in the store around the 4th of July. Certainly did this year, I think it did last year. Sometimes it comes as part of a package with other American tanks, but generally speaking, you know, at least once a year this thing's going to be available, and it's a very interesting tank destroyer at Tier 7. Basically, it has very good armor, especially frontally. It has the gun is sort of halfway between a movable turret and a turretless TD, so you've got 30 degrees of traverse each side, so 60 degrees in total, so you don't necessarily have to waggle it around as much as you would a turretless TD. You can traverse the gun a little bit. It's got a reasonable turn of speed when it gets going. It's got a good gun, will dole out around 300 alpha, and reloads about once every 8 seconds. And this makes for a very interesting TD and a different style of play. And as you can see, Frost 136 here, you can actually get away with frontlining this tank. It's got the armour to take bounces from heavy tanks. So you can get a little bit more aggressive with this rather than finding your favourite TD spot and sitting at the back of the map. And that's exactly what Frost has done here. He's driven into the town area, and he's perched himself on this corner, and he's putting this gun to very good effect, already taking 2 kills. Now Sean there, I mean, he must have known Frost was there, and he still came out, so I don't really know what he was thinking. But Frost is going to hold his corner here, and he's really going to tie up an awful lot of the offensive capability of the enemy team. He's already taken out 2 targets. He's keeping other targets tied down onto this corner, trying to pen him, and he's taking a few bounces whilst racking up the damage. So yeah, just a very nice piece of play. He's going to do his best to support his teammate here. His teammate is getting pushed on and probably isn't going to survive long. Now Frost does make the right call here. He knows he's got 2 tanks to his left. Instinct would sort of, normally you'd want to rush over there and help your teammate, but his teammate is a one shot and he's got 2 tanks to his left, and if he rolls over there sideways, he's simply going to get hit in the flank and the rear, which will destroy his hit point pool, which he's done a great job up until this point to protect. So to a certain extent he has to leave his teammate alone with the Tiger P there. He did his best to support him from distance, but he's got 3 tanks basically pushing on him. Cupcake is just off to his right, and she's doing her very best to support Frost's position here. She's going to have a pretty good game in her own right. And yeah, these guys are really sort of holding up a major part of this team. Now obviously the big danger is always going to be if you get a med or a light coming up behind you and doing exactly this. I mean, this is good play here from the red medium. He knows that Frost has tanks to his front. He can just sit behind him and pump in the damage. That's massively reduced Frost's hit point pool, and unfortunately Cupcake also gets taken out there. So this is still a very tight game, a 2-on-2. Frost has done excellent work, so now it is up to the rest of the team. Unfortunately they do have an AFK VK3001D, which doesn't help the situation. So basically all we've got here is Mr. 88 to try and bring home the win. Now we're going to speed this up a bit because quite frankly watching an 88 try to get in a position just takes far too long, and it isn't a good conclusion to the game, so we will watch it through. 88 here now, he's got 2 tanks. He's still got the one-shot medium over there, who's potentially trying to protect his tank and snipe from distance. The AT's done the right thing here, made sure that he can't get turned and get a gun barrel behind him, so he's just going to keep turning and keep pumping the shots into the enemy T-29. Yeah, I mean, potentially did make it pretty easy for the AT there, and now the medium sort of moved in and got into a close range brawl that he's simply not equipped for. So the AT-8 is going to clear up both tanks pretty easily actually, and take the win. But an excellent performance from Frost there. High caliber, top gun, first class mastery, 3300 damage and 4 kills. Almost 1200 damage for Cupcake as well, so a good game from that pair. Okay, our next premium is it's an odd tank. This is the Type 59 Patton. It's a bit of an amalgamation tank. It's got the hull from a Type 59 Chinese Tier 8 medium with an American Patton turret and gun mounted on top of it, which makes for an interesting combination. Now, just because it's mounted on the Type 59 medium chassis, it certainly doesn't move as well as the Type 59 medium Chinese Tier 8 does. It is a little slower, it is a little bit more sluggish. You do have the benefit of a pretty good gun in the Patton gun there mounted on this tank, and yeah, it's an interesting tank. It feels a bit sort of neither. Yeah, it does feel a bit odd. It's one of those that you probably have to get used to. I mean, I probably found it a little odd because I've played the Type 59 Chinese Tier 8 medium quite a lot. I think I have about 700-800 battles in that tank. So I'm very familiar with that tank, which is why I found this one to be basically just a little sluggish. Nonetheless, it is a good tank. Now we've rolled out on Faust here, and yeah, I've found myself, unfortunately, I've got an enemy smasher. Now we take, I really don't want to have to get the grips with this guy, so I'm going to try and use the elevation here to put shots at the top of his turret, and as much as possible not give this guy too many viable targets. I'm going to come over here, try and stick another WoT in. We take a bounce because of the angle we've maintained on the tank. You will take bounces in this tank if you angle it well. Now a teammate has come to back me up with this guy, so that's going to allow me to come around here, and hopefully we'll put this guy in a very bad position, and stick another shell into him there, and my teammate is going to clear him up, so that's Smasher out of the equation. We now get into quite an intense fight with the KV-5 here. The KV-5 does in fact have an excellent game. I think he does about 3,000 damage in this game actually, and we've got to take this guy on, and here's what I mean about it being potentially just a little sluggish. It's getting to the point where I can only just outturn the turret on a KV-5. So yeah, I mean the gun is doing its work. It's got a relatively good reload, and generally speaking, although that one didn't go in, you know, you don't suffer too much from bad penetration on it. But yeah, it's just it just feels a bit odd actually. So would I recommend you buy the tank? If you're a bit of a tank collector, certainly. My personal opinion is, if you're going for a Tier 8 medium and you've got the choice of the Type 59 Patton, or you've got the choice of the Type 59 Chinese version Tier 8, I would go with the Chinese version. The Type 59, to my mind, it is a better all-round tank. But nonetheless, not a bad tank. Reasonable battle there, just over 2,000 damage, 1 kill. To my mind, I believe the Chinese version is a better tank. So that would probably be where I would choose to spend my money, if I'm brutally honest about it. Okay, and our last game. This is the Kampfpanzer 70 Cavalry, a Tier 9 German heavy. And the reason I decided to buy this tank actually was because I'd got into a few... they're not very common, these tanks. I don't see them that often. Yeah, I'd got into a few tussles with one, and I kept noticing that it had this monstrous alpha gun on the front of it. Certainly I'd taken a bit of damage from it in a few previous battles, so I thought I'll give this tank a go. And as a tank, it's actually very, very good. You do have to consider how you drive it. It's got an excellent gun. It will whack up well over 500 alpha with standard AP. The reload time on it isn't too monstrous at all. The turret armor is okay. It also has a good turn of speed for a heavy tank at tier 9. The one thing it does lack, however, is particularly strong hull armor. So that will obviously dictate the way that you play the tank. You know, to a certain extent, you want to try and keep this thing hull down. The reload is long enough that you don't really want to be getting into a huge brawl with this tank and frontline it. You almost need to play a slightly supporting role from your own heavies. This certainly isn't the tank that you go YOLOing in and start getting into a brawl with a couple of tanks. I mean, you simply won't survive that long. And the whole point of having, you know, a good high alpha gun like this is that you keep it in the game as long as possible to dole out the maximum amount of damage to benefit the team. So it does dictate how you play the tank, but that is pretty much the same with pretty much any tank. They all have their different strengths and weaknesses, they all have their different play styles, and certainly with this one you need to play this potentially with a mind to effectively keeping your gun in the game as long as possible, because this gun is absolutely magnificent. Quite regularly you will be doling out over 500 alpha, which is excellent from a tier 9 heavy tank. And as you can see, good turn of speed there. We deal with our friend the waffle tractor here, save our buddy in the standard B. Yeah, it's I must admit, once you do get to grips with the fact that you have to play it in a slightly different style than potentially you would play other heavies at this tier, this can be a very, very effective and deadly tank. It's certainly capable of putting out some very good damage numbers. And I think I picked this up not quite recently, certainly not too long ago, and I think I picked this up for £15, which to my mind, if you are going to buy premium tanks, I thought £15 for a tank that had a gun this good was actually a very good deal. So certainly one that I would recommend, a great fun tank to drive. So 2 kills in that game, just over 2700 damage, but certainly one that I have enjoyed driving. Anyway, boys and girls, thank you all very much for watching the videos and supporting the channel, and as always, good hunting and bye for now.